Okay, so today we'll be learning about finding the surface area of and volume of prisms and cylinders. So first of all, prism is just going to be a three-dimensional shape that has two congruent and parallel bases. What we have to understand again is that bases are not always going to be on the bottom. They're going to be the two sides of my three-dimensional shape that are congruent and parallel. If I have a shape that is not all made of rectangles, it's not a box, then they will be the bases will be the two that are different. So like with the two shapes that we have here, I've got a pentagon. So the top and the bottom in this case are going to be my bases. All the other sides are rectangles, so the two congruent and parallel bases are going to be my pentagons. For this shape right here, I'm going to have the two triangles are going to be my bases. So we have to make sure that we're careful about identifying the bases. Again, if it's not a box, it's going to be, and when I say box meaning made up of all rectangles, it's going to be the two faces that are different. So the three things we're going to find today are going to be lateral area, surface area, and volume. Our lateral area is going to be the areas of all the lateral faces, which are going to be the shapes that are not the bases. So the faces of my shape that aren't bases. The surface area will be the entire thing. We need to make sure we understand is that surface area is going to be talking about the outside area of the shape. So like if I were to paint the outside of a box, or the outside of any one of these shapes, that's going to be the area that it's covering. It's not talking about filling it, it's talking about just covering the outside. You can also think of wrapping paper. And then the volume is going to be actually filling that shape. So it's going to be, if I were to fill it, the three-dimensional shape with water, or fill it with sand or whatever, so it's filling the inside of it. We need to understand the difference between surface area and volume through this. So the three formulas that we'll have here, so to find my lateral area, what I can do is I can take the perimeter of the base and multiply it by the height, and the height is going to be the distance between the bases. The surface area, I'm going to take the lateral area and then add 2 times. The B is the area of one of base. And then to find the volume, I just take the area of the base and multiply by that same height, which is the distance between the bases. So with this first problem on the bottom left of the notes, what we want to do is we want to find the surface area, lateral area, surface area, and volume of this shape. So the first thing we need to figure out is that again, the base of this three-dimensional object is going to be my triangles here. So I'm going to go ahead and I would suggest for you to kind of shade it in, or just like draw a little bit on it so we know that those are our two bases. So I want to find the easiest way that I can set this up is to find the perimeter of my base, and then I can find the area of the base as well. So to find the perimeter, I just want to find each of the sides of this triangle here, and then add up all the sides. So I'm missing one. This is a right triangle, so I can use the Pythagorean theorem. I can label my hypotenuse as x, and that's going to be x squared is equal to 3 squared plus 4 squared. When I do that, I get x squared is equal to 9 plus 16 is 25. And so take the square root of both sides, so my hypotenuse is 5. So I know that this piece right here is going to be 5 centimeters. So the perimeter, again, the area distance going all around my base, is going to be 3 plus 4 plus 5, which gives me 12. And then to find the area of the base, my capital B over here, what I can do is I can use my formula for the area of a triangle, which is 1/2 times my base times my height. When I do that, again, my base and my height of my triangle, and this is the height of my triangle, base and the height just have to be perpendicular to each other, so I would use 3 and 4 as my base and height. So the area of the base is 1/2 times 3 times 4. So the area of my base is going to end up being 6 square centimeters. And this is 12 centimeters for my perimeter. So then from there I can find my lateral area and my surface area. So again, lateral area is going to be my perimeter times the height. Again, that's the height of my 3D shape. And so my lateral area ends up being my perimeter, which we said was 12, times the height, which is the distance between my three-dimensional shape, between the bases. So it's going to be this distance here, which is 6. So my lateral area is 72. And my surface area then I can find as my lateral area plus 2 times my bases, 2 of my bases. So I get my surface area is equal to 72 plus 2 times 2 of my bases. Area of the base was 6. So when I do that, I get 84. So there's my surface area. And then the last thing I can do is find my volume. Find the volume, I take the area of my base and multiply it by the height. Again, the height is going to be the distance between the bases. So I'm going to go volume is equal to area of the base, which we said was 6, times the height, which is also 6. So my volume is going to be 36, and since it's volume, again, 3 dimensions, it's going to be cubic centimeters. So centimeters to the 3rd power. With this second problem on the bottom right of our notes, again, I want to find, I'm looking at my shape. My 2 bases are going to end up being these hexagons right here. So those are my 2 bases. So I want to find the perimeter. So we've got a regular hexagon. Each side is 6. So I know the perimeter is going to be 36. By taking 6 sides, each of them being 6. And then the area of my base, to find a hexagon, is going to be 1/2 times my apothem times my perimeter. And so this will have to do what we did last chapter, where I'm cutting out a piece of pizza. And again, I'm going to put my triangle over here, and I've got to find my apothem. So I know that this is going to be my apothem. Since it's a hexagon, I know that each of the central angles is going to be 60, which would make this top angle 30. So remember, it cuts a piece to slice in half. Okay. Internet stopped working, so I'm going to pick up where I left off, I think. Perimeter is 36. Area of the base is 1/2 times my apothem times my perimeter. Again, I'm going to cut a piece out here. With this, I'm going to have, this is my apothem. Remember that each one of these central angles is 60. So that angle right there would be 60 degrees. And so that means that this top one would be 30. The entire side length is 6, and so I know that this bottom piece would be a 3. And so I'm going to use tangent of 30 is equal to 3 over a. So I can multiply both sides by a, and then divide by the tangent of 30. When I do that, I should get my apothem is 5.20. The area of my base is going to be 1/2 times 5.20 times my perimeter, which is 36. So you get the area of the base is going to be 93.6. And again, these are meters, so square meters. Once I'm there, now I can find my lateral area, which is going to be my perimeter times my height. That gives me 36 times my height, which is going to be 12. So my lateral area is equal to 432. My surface area is my lateral area plus 2 bases. So my surface area is 432 plus 2 times area of my base, which ends up being 93.6. So my surface area ends up being 619.20 square meters. And then the last thing is to find my volume, which is the area of my base times my height. Area of my base is 93.6, and then the height again is 12. So that gives me my volume is equal to 1,123.20, and again these are cubic meters. So we're talking about volume. I'm going to do the top left and the bottom left. Again, when I'm doing this one, perimeter of to find the perimeter of the base. Again, the base of this one is going to be my circles. Another word for perimeter is circumference, which again is going to be 2 pi r. So my circumference is going to be 2 pi times my radius, which in this case is 5, half a 10. So my circumference, we're going to leave these in terms of pi until we get to our final answer for like our surface area and our volume. And so then the area of the base is going to be pi r squared. Radius again is 5. So again, if I leave it in terms of pi, I just multiply the numbers and stick the pi on it, so 25 pi. So when I get to my lateral area, I want to do the perimeter, which is my circumference. Perimeter times my height. So my perimeter in this case is 10 pi. And then my height is 12. So I'm going to leave this in terms of pi, 120 pi. And then my surface area, I'm going to take my lateral area and then add 2 of the area of my base. So my lateral area, again, is 120 pi plus 2, and then the area of my base, which was, 25 pi. And you can plug this whole thing into your calculator, 120 pi plus 2 times 25 pi, and that would give me my surface area. And again, I think it makes most sense as a decimal, so I get 534.07 square meters. To find my volume then, I'm doing the area of my base times the height, so the volume ends up being 25 pi times 12, and that gives me my volume of 942.48 cubic meters. Skip that one. This one, again, what I notice here is I have an equilateral triangle. And so my perimeter is going to be 8 plus 8 plus 8, which gives me 24. The area of my base, I'm going to use 1/2 times my base times my height. And so to do this with an equilateral triangle, what I can do is I can draw my height. So I know that each of these are 8. This is the height of my triangle, and I know that since it's equilateral, that height will cut this side in half. So I know that this piece right here will end up being 4. And so I can use the Pythagorean theorem to find out what my height is and then find the area of the triangle. So I can go get my hypotenuse is 8, so 8 squared is equal to h squared plus 4 squared. So I get 64 is equal to h squared plus 16. Subtract and I get 48 is equal to h squared. And then I can take the square root of both sides. When I do that, I get my height is 6.93. So to find the area of my base, I do 1/2 times my, again, the base and the height is just of my triangle, the base is 8, and the height is that 6.93. When I do that, I get that my area of my base is going to be equal to 27.72. Again, those are square inches. These are inches. So when I find my lateral area, I'm going to do perimeter times the height of the prism. So my lateral area is going to be my perimeter, which is 24, times the height of the prism, which is 10. So my lateral area is 240. My surface area is going to be my lateral area plus 2 bases. My surface area is 240 plus 2 times the area of my base, which was 27.72. And so I get my surface area to be 295.44 square inches. And the last thing I can do is find the volume. The volume is the area of my base times the height. The area of the base is 27.72 multiplied by the height, which is 10. So the volume is 277.2, and again, these are going to be cubic inches.